Hello again. I've just quickly changed my shirt, ready to go again, and I'm going to share a screen with you to go over the beginnings and the kind of tricky bits of eHive. Sharing, here we are. So, can I move this? Yes. Here we are looking at a record ready to go, and we're going to work with this object and this file here to create the object. So the object number is an easy one. It shall always be in this format, GM, year, and then a 3-digit number. That's just the order that it's gone into the book. GM-2000-110. Is that right? Just double check it. Oh, yes. Testing date. We do not know at the minute without looking back at paperwork, and we may not have that paperwork. Name is down here as stoneware, bottle, or flagon. With object names, take the simplest that you possibly can. So cut out any descriptive words at all and just go for the most simple and the most obvious name. So this is a bottle in its name. That being, so when we can search for any type of bottle and it will come up as the object. So this is different from the object type, which we will go later, which is more into the next stage of classification. Controlling institution is always going to be Grantown Museum, pretty much as far as we're concerned. Really, as far as we can, these term pick lists in the first ones, just use them and don't change things. Collection type, this is where I have changed things so that we only have very few collection types in the store. In general, there will be almost everything will be in social history, unless there's a real glaring reason why not. Then the stuff will be in the costume, which I've taken out as a separate collection, and paper and documents will probably be another collection. Photographs will be another collection, but basically within the stores, just a very small group of collections, and almost everything that you do will come under social history at the moment. Maybe for Elspeth, you will have specifically Mary Katanach. Classification. Could you skip over this and just start with object type rather than classification? If we think to our Schick tree, so let's find a bottle. It's not going to be in community life, it's going to be in domestic life. And let's most likely food, drink, and tobacco. And it would come under storage. There aren't any more branches to go down. So storage, we will make as the object type. So you could see there might be a topping board, which would come under preparation as object types. And it means then when the list in as a searcher in eHive, it gives you object types, and we don't want to have hundreds and hundreds of object types of spoon, fork, knife, or even cutlery. Rather have everything that comes under serving, eating, and drinking as in one heading, because we've not got thousands and thousands of things. So actually we want to be able to search for a group of things. So storage is what I'm going to call this object type, and it should be in the term pick list. And if I just start typing, storage, it will give me options. The storage jar there as well, which actually I'm going to change and make them all just come under storage, rather than have storage box, storage jar, storage bottle, storage hamper. We'll just put everything into storage. I'm hoping to get to the stage where actually everything in the term pick list you will just be able to pick from there and really nothing else. So go back into classification, and this is the other parts of the tree. So in here, working backwards from storage, it would be food, drink, and tobacco. And then there isn't another, sometimes there's a tree in between. So if you look here with more classes in cooking, there's another tier, another lot of branches of these. So these would be the object type then, as far as we can go. And then you would have a classification cooking and food, drink, and tobacco, and domestic and family life. So let's put these in classification. No, actually got that in. Okay, so go to the term pick list. I'll put that in as a new term. Domestic and family life. As I say, hopefully you won't necessarily have to be putting a lot of these new terms in, and it should be there for you. But on occasion, it's okay to do that. Okay, and then use selected term because I'm already in there. Domestic and family life. Another line, and I know that food, drink, and tobacco is definitely in there. Now you'll see where my work has already got discrepancies in terms of capitalization. I don't think this matters in eHive. It does in other documentation systems, but I will go back and change this to, let's have a look at food. I'd rather that we stick to everything having capitals for the big words. Where's it gone? Why is it not in there? Term pick list. That's strange. Okay, let's forget about that. I'll go back and do that at another point. Maybe it's because of the capital letters. Let's ignore that at the moment. So there we have these ones, which are difficult to sometimes suss out which way to put them in, but I hope that's fairly straightforward. There will be some that don't necessarily fit so easily. A brief description. Let's go to anything. So now here we've got markings on it. Stoneware bottle. I think really we've got a photograph, so descriptions aren't hugely, don't have to be massively descriptive. So I'm going to put stoneware bottle. I am not going to put the inscription in there because there is a place for inscriptions. So medium and materials, clay, so inscriptions and marks. Just copy this in. So copy and paste what's in there into inscriptions and markings. Put in Grosvenor. Now I want to check that is, let's see if it's on the picture. Can I see it? Oh, now I'm on a different one. Hang on. That's James Grant, Grantown. Interesting, 2067. James Grant, Grantown. Ooh. Ah, okay. And James Grant, Grantown. Yes, I see. Marion and Grosvenor Glasgow is on the other side of the photograph. A secondary photograph, that's fine. Measurements are in there as well. Height 26 centimeters. Centimeters. And then we come to subject and association keywords. Now here, I've kind of revised my thinking about subject and association keywords. I think having that top line of domestic and family life is good, but also we don't need to put any of the classification things in. I don't think we necessarily need Grantown, because if you search Grantown, it will come up with a collection. However, I have put a couple of things into this term pick list, which are specific. So thinking about how people will use eHive, wanting to search for certain topics that are specific to us. So a couple of ones that I've done already, I thought about shops and shopping, anything connected with the high street. So because it's got an insignia there of Grantown, and it's obviously from a shop, I'm going to put it in as Grantown High Street. You see that I've also put something in on Seafield, so anything connected with the grants and grants can go in. And what else have I put in? Grantown Museum's own history, and the grants of Grant as well. So we can put both of them in so people are searching. And then the rest, and also put one in on gamekeeping. So if you come across something and you think actually there is a subject matter that people might search for that connects with this object, then put it in. I don't mind you here putting in new terms for searching for subjects, but around that nature of topics you think people will search for. Okay. So now I would see here now is I would need to look more on the object itself to see if the maker, if that inscription there, if one of them was a maker's mark, Murray and Grosvenor, Glasgow, I would presume is the maker. And James Grant is obviously the merchant, but I'm not absolutely convinced, so I'm just going to leave it in the inscription and marks, unless I know better. There's also another name or title, flagon in there, and also jar, because some people would call that a jar. And numbers, there is not any related objects, not at the moment. What was it going to look for? Place made. Now, this is the one to be careful with, because I would say there that we probably could hazard a guess that this is Glasgow made. If it just had Grantown on it, it doesn't necessarily mean it's made in Grantown. So be careful of putting things that have an insignia on as making that the maker, because it's not necessarily the maker. It could be more the seller. So be careful around putting definite roles in here. I would probably say it would be all right to put in without having looked at the actual seeing what the mark is. I'm not convinced. And basically, a rule of thumb, if you're not absolutely sure, then don't put it in, because that is how kind of these things become mistaken throughout history. Probably not very important with a stone pot. But if you're not sure about anything, either make a note and ask me, or just put it in the public description, or the either description really. I need to put it in the public description as well. And yeah, so be careful. So if you've got an idea that something, so for instance, some of these small jars that we can see here, let's go back, which, you know, maybe a spice jar, could be an inkwell. So be very careful what you would put it down as. So just again using jar or bottle, very loose terms as the title, and then you could perhaps in the description have a question mark, perhaps an inkwell, if you think that's it. So it's not going to be set in stone. Someone else can go, no, that's not an inkwell, that's a spice jar. But it's not set down as the object. Generally speaking, if you don't know, just don't identify something. Don't put in a guess just for the sake of it. Just be very loose with the terms so that we're not rewriting history. Okay, so we've got our object number, name, controlling institution, collection type, which is almost always social history, unless you're working in paper documents or Mary Catanac, which actually some of you will be, and I will put these in the term pick list for you. Classification, look to chick, and the last ones that you come to, we will use as object types. Let's have a look at something else that might be, let's have community life. So actually there's an example. We've got magazines about the coronation. They could be put under, actually they would probably be put under magazines, but you could have them classified under monarchy, national government, community life. You might have them, object type would probably be more likely to be magazines, I would think, if we've got them. Furnishings and fittings, so a lot will be under there, under soft furnishings as an object type, and then going back through classifications of furnishings and fittings, and domestic and family life. Hobbies, crafts and pastimes, which would be a classification, and then these would be your object. Oh no, we've still got a plus there, so crafts and hobbies. Art, woodworking, these would be an object type. So if you've got a saw, its title would be saw, its object type would be woodworking, and classifications would be crafts and hobbies. Hobbies, crafts and pastimes. I know that's a double whammy. And the last one that we're doing, which is domestic and family life. Okay. And descriptions. Some of these we will be adding in with some ones that we know a lot more about. Its location. Should have a specific one for location. Catalogued date is the 7th in catalog contact list myself. You can put your own self in here. And that's more or less us. I'm trying to find again if item count. It's one we can add in one. That's important if there are obviously more than one. So say you have a set of records, as in vinyl records, or a set of darts, as I know we have. There would be a box plus 7 darts. So it might be one object, a box of darts, but the item count would be important so that we can keep track of those 7 darts plus whatever vessel they are in. And you might say there, 7 darts plus 1 box. So location history, that's what I was going to, is B2. There we go, location history at the moment. And that's us for the details. I'll quickly just go across to acquisition. And now this is where eHive is a bit funny because I can't find a place for the person who has donated it. Normally there would be, a donator field. And really the only one I can find is a provenance person. But then it puts it onto the published record. So I'm a bit, I don't really want to do that because I don't think people would want necessarily to be up there. So I'm just going to put it in the acquisition notes of a donated by, because then it won't show up. If we do Mrs. A.J. Belcher, and also saves putting in the Mrs. A.J. Belcher. A.J. Belcher. And just always double check that you've definitely spelt it correctly. And then we've got all of the basic information plus description plus classified in any one of these. So I'm quite satisfied that we can save this record. Actually, no, because I'm going to put a capital letter in there. Save. Would you like to publish this record? Yes. And I can put out this bottle, edit images, drag and drop. So let's go to the photograph. And download it from eHive. It is in here. I'm going to drag it into here. And that's it done. So just making sure that it's the right one, and that's it. You don't need to press save or anything like that. It's in the record. and then I can go on to start a new record or create something similar if I'm, let's see what's coming up next. So another stoneware bottle or mark. So actually I can create a similar object. It's going to come up with pretty much the same classification. And all I need to do is change its number and check over that everything is still going to be the same. Descriptions and marks. And up there, height is going to be different. Oh, probably still be height. Oh. 13 centimeters. This is why it's important, because when things lose their number, having the height there can obviously help us identify objects. Is it going to work for Grantham High Street? No, it probably isn't. I don't think there's particularly any subject that we need to put in. Flag and jar is still appropriate. Check its location. It's still in B2, yes, because we're in the same thing. That's going to be the same. Add the number of G. This number. 199154. 199154. Save. Okay. Image. This one was a lot easier. What number is this? Because actually, now see, I would have called that a jar. I should have checked that. Get a record. This is bottle jar. Actually, call that a jar. And then here. And other name. Call it a bottle. I think I would definitely put that as a jar. 199154 jar. Save again. So you see, it's okay to images 2067. 2068. 2068. Take that off. Take that one in. Download that one. Wait for it to finish. Drag it in. Here we go. I hope you will agree with me that that is a jar rather than a bottle. But that's where there are always going to be slight decisions to be made. And any queries, just get back to me. And actually, one last thing that I am going to do while I remember. So let's go back into this record. I'm going to edit record. Put in each term pick list, not the social history one because you shouldn't have to check that. Certainly in classification. new term of check. So if you are unsure in any way, that was domestic life. If I see check in the classification and I can actually just search for anything that needs a check, then and so I can check and see what needs checking. I think that's a good way of doing it. Is it though? Because then it will be published. So actually, if you put that in, just save as a draft. And don't save to publish. It means you won't necessarily be able to put the photograph in, or maybe you will, but yeah, you could save as a draft, and then it will be checked that way. Okay, right. Phew. That'll do for just now. If you've got any questions, get back to me, but I'll make this a first installment of how to and see how it goes. Okay, bye just now.